Welcome to aminacademy.com. Let us do life stories of scientists. In that, we'll discuss about Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton, an English physicist and mathematician, was the culminating figure of the scientific revolution of the 17th century. In optics, his discovery of the composition of the white light integrated the phenomena of colors into the science of light and laid the foundation for modern physical optics. In mechanics, his three laws of motion, the basic principles of modern physics, resulted in the formulation of the law of universal gravitation. In mathematics, he was the original discoverer of the infinitesimal calculus. Newton's Philosophia Naturalis Principia Mathematica, that is, the mathematical principle of natural philosophy, in 1687 was one of the most important single works in the history of modern science. Now we'll discuss more about Sir Isaac Newton. Sir Isaac Newton was born to widowed mother. His father died 3 months prior and was not expected to survive, being a tiny and weak. Shortly thereafter, Newton was sent by his stepfather, the well-to-do minister Barbara Smith, to live with his grandmother and was separated from his mother until Smith's death in 1653. Sir Isaac Newton in 1643 to 1727 was an English physicist and mathematician who was a key figure in the scientific revolution. He developed the laws of motion and gravitation and invented calculus. Early life: born in Woolsthorpe by Colsterworth, England on December 25, 1642. Register raised by his grandmother after his father died before he was born. Enrolled at Cambridge University in 1661. Education and discoveries: discovered the generalized binomial theorem in 1665, invented the reflecting telescopes in 1668, developed the method of fluxions, which is now known as calculus, in 1669, published his major work Principia in 1687. Career: elected to Parliament twice as a representative of Cambridge, appointed Warden of the Mint in 1696, elected President of the Royal Society in 1703, knighted by Queen Anne in 1705. Legacy: his work laid the foundation for much of modern science and engineering. He was the first scientist to be buried in Westminster Abbey. Sir Isaac Newton made many discoveries and contribution to physics, mathematics, and philosophy. Some of his most notable discoveries include laws of motion. Newton's three laws of motion are fundamental to classical mechanics and modern physics. Universal gravitation. Newton's law of universal gravitation is a cornerstone of classical mechanics. White light and rainbow. Newton discovered that white light is made up of all of the colors of the rainbow, which can be recombined to form a white light again. Reflecting telescope. Newton designed the first functional reflecting telescopes, which improved to the refraction based telescopes of his time. Newton developed a calculus, a branch of mathematics that helps calculate length, volume, and areas, even in irregular figures. Spectral analysis. Newton helped develop spectral analysis, which allowed people to identify the colors of the rainbow. Kepler's law of planetary motion. Newton's used his mathematical description of gravity to derive Kepler's law of planetary motion. Now, even his life, some tragic part in his life. At the peak, Isaac Newton had one of the most rational minds in human history. His, he was he was a brain unlike any other, one of that allowed him to develop the fundamental of gravity and physics as well as make significant contribution to calculus. The later of his he did in less time than it takes most people to learn it. But every exceptional mind is an unusual one, and none were more so than the mind of Isaac Newton. As Newton's life dragged on, his grip on sanity slowly started to slip, and his interest twisted away from the scientific and into the mystical. Newton wrote 10 million words throughout his life, but most of them had nothing to do with science. The overwhelming majority of the thoughts he put to paper were about alchemy, prophecies, and ancient mysticism and strange, little known side to one of the greatest scientific minds in human history. Sir Isaac Newton threats to burn his mother alive because that much he was affected in his early life. Isaac Newton was devotedly religious. He studied the Bible with every bit as much passion as he poured into science. At the young age of 20, while his sanity was still well intact, Newton sat down and wrote a list of 57 most grievous sins as his way of beggings for forgiveness. Some of them are bland, insignificant things like eating an apple while at church, but hidden among them are some that foreshadow the mental instability that was the plague him later in life. Newton's, it seems, could get violent. He asked God for forgiveness for punching his sister and later for going all out the beating of a man named Arthur Storer. And then it seems he lost all sense of who was against. His sins becomes more open-ended, striking many and wishing death and hoping it to stop. His mother and his stepfather, Barbara Smith, got the worst of his wrath. One of the many sins to which our young Newton confessed was threatening my father and mother Smith to burn them and the house over them. Isaac Newton and the Philosopher's Stone. In the later years of his life, Isaac Newton began a wild search for the Philosopher's Stone. This is some people believed in his time was a mystical substance that could change base mental like lead into a gold and could grant any one who drank it eternal life. He thought, but it was wrong. So far we discussed about little about Sir Isaac Newton. We have done. Please subscribe our YouTube channel.